I'd now like to welcome our second keynote speaker, and actually one of the main reasons we're all here today, Mr. Kamran Elahian, if he can join us on stage. The keynote topic is iGANDHI, be the high-tech agent of change you want to see in the world. Kamran Elahian is the chairman and co-founder of Global Catalyst Partners and one of the organizers of today's conference.
Good morning, or Shab Bekhair for the friends in Iran. It's my pleasure to be here. So wonderful to see from about a year ago that Yahya Jan and I, in combination with Rouzbeh, we're talking about, wouldn't that be nice to have a bridge conference to get the people from high technology to think like entrepreneurs without borders. We have doctors without borders. They don't care about politics. They go and do what makes sense and what has to be done. And they do things that benefit humanity, regardless of race, religion, difference of opinion, all the politics, all the corruption, whatever things exist in any country. I believe the high-tech community can do the same thing. And I refer to this group of people, all of us in this room, and those of us from around the world, especially the people, dear friends from Iran, to think of Gandhi. The phrase on my talk is stolen from Gandhi. Shri Gandhi ji, my ultimate hero, said, "Be the change you want to see in the world." So it's up to us to be that change, not to the politicians, not people who are discussing and arguing and killing and having all sorts of problems. It's up to us to be the agents of change. And what did Gandhi ji do? He transformed one of the poorest countries in the planet, India, to become today, according to the World Bank ranking, having a GDP of $2 trillion and be the 10th economic powerhouse. What were the principles that he taught? The principles were: forget about all the prejudices against the caste system that existed in India. Different levels of people were treated differently based on blood. The nobles, Brahmins versus the Dalits, the untouchables. There was no chance for untouchables to move up, to do anything different. Women had zero chance. He changed all of that. And he said, we need to empower everyone to have a chance, an opportunity to move up, pull themselves up. And the tools that he used were two. In terms of resources, India had a lot of cotton. And he said, go back, use the spinning wheel, this mechanical thing that was operated by hand, to create the fabric and create a local economy for India. To bring empowerment, and self-reliance, and give the opportunity to the people. Thank God, now we live in 21st century. And thanks to Steve Jobs, we have got iPhone, iPad, iTouch, iTunes, iPod. Why not iGANDHI? The I stands for internet. The opportunity that we have is for the first time in history of human beings, we don't need the resources that in the Iron Age you needed, in the Industrial Age, at the time of the robber barons you needed, the natural resources. Today, many of the countries in the world, their primary force of economic contribution to GDP is oil and gas, extractive technologies that destroy the planet and pollute the air. Today, for the first time, we have the chance to forget about the past and move on to 21st century, where what is the most important is having the brain, not the natural resources, and creating economy out of nothing, absolutely out of nothing. Behruz John talked about how somebody in Estonia could create the algorithms for voice over IP and create Skype, challenge the biggest telcos, destroy the monopolies, and create innovation economy for Estonia. And if you go and visit Skype's headquarters over there, it does look like Silicon Valley. It's very, very, very much aligned with global thinking, with the culture of Silicon Valley, the culture of innovation economy. What is that culture? We have two kinds of economies. The speculation economy, capitalism 1.0. Within capitalism 1.0, we have an economy that is driven typically by one or couple successful people on the top, and they have dictatorship. They use monopoly. They go and do everything they can to maximize the corporate profits. Typically, there is a lot of abuse, corruption, lack of opportunity for other people, and that power is only shared within small group of friends and relatives and inside information. That's speculative capitalism. You buy something low and try to sell it higher, whether it's stock, whether it's oil and gas, whether it's real estate, whatever it is. It does not contribute much to build an economy. If anything, on extractive economies, it destroys the planet. Innovation economy is driven by completely different principles. There is no dictatorship. It's participative management. The boss is more a coach, is a leader. There is shared ownership. It's not one or two or few people controlling all the wealth. When Apple went public, over 100 people became millionaires. When Facebook, Twitter went public, over 1,000 people became millionaires. And what is amazing is all these people had to do. Look at Google, look at Facebook. It was use their brains and use the internet. So when I talk about iGANDHI, we have replaced. We don't need the cotton. I mean, we do for other things, but if we want to create real value, we use the brains. And we don't need spinning wheel. The 21st century spinning wheel is the computer and the internet. And that's the equalizer that allows a couple people from Estonia go and develop a product that challenges the biggest phone companies in the world. Not only that, it's the first time in the history that men and women are equal. For years and years and years, because to create value, we had to use the physical ability, the structure of male being bigger. Most of the world has been controlled by men. Look at how much, screw-ups we had, being part of that, part of the, genre. I'm talking about myself, yes. What did I do? Those of you who know me, you know who calls all of the shots in our family. They always ask me, what's the reason for your success? I say, behind every successful woman, there is a bald, fat, short guy standing and rooting for her. That's my wife, Zore. She does all of the things. But there is another thing about the I. I, in 21st century, after the me generation, emphasizes me, what I as an individual can do, what you as each individual can do, to be the agent of change and be the high-tech agent of change. So I ask you, my brothers and sisters, are you all with me on this greatest revolution in the history of human beings to go and change the world? Each one of us can be an iGANDHI and be the high-tech agent of change. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Kamran. So we have many, many questions coming in, so thank you to everyone here and online who's asking them. One of the top-rated questions here is, can there be large growth in tech in Iran without the support of the government and limitations on bandwidth and censorship?
You know how to ask tough questions, don't you? Why don't you ask Beirut about that, huh? Well, I have good news for you. I've dedicated my life, as many of you in the room have also done, to create new technologies that changes the world for the better. In our strongest belief, we know there are ways to bring the power of computing and the power of communications at affordable cost to everyone. My companies like Centillium Communications created ADSL. BSIM Communications created 4G technologies, both WiMAX and LTE. There is a way to come up with lower things. And keep your eyes on an emergence of 5G, an emergence of lower cost networks using alternative technologies. Self-organized networks created with a lot of some nice features of 4G, like beamforming, MIMO. I guess the key new thing is self-organized networks. And the basic structures are not going to be necessarily the cell towers that we have had before, that needed to be done by governments. Look at what Google is doing. Look at what Facebook is doing. You can use balloons, low-orbit satellites, or drones. And there are many different approaches, competing ones coming from new startups. So the governments who move forward and see this and deregulate communications and provide low price, open bandwidth to everyone are going to be the ones who are part of the new 21st century mega wave. Those who do not are going to be staying backward and live in the dark ages. So I don't know what will happen to Iran. I hope that they will move forward and see the light and provide free bandwidth available to every school, every student, everywhere to really go and change for the better. You need low-cost internet in the hands of everyone. But if the governments don't do it, I've been involved in 40 different countries to bring high-tech over there. Some of them I've seen very great support from governments. Some of them it has been fighting with tooth and nail. But fundamentally, technology and goodwill always wins. And mark my words on that.
So that's a good segue to this next question that's actually written in Farsi. So I'll read it in Farsi, translate it for our friends, and then hand it over to you. You can actually read it here with me. اگر مذاکرات 5+1 مثل گذشته به بنبست کشید و شرایط بحرانی تداوم پیدا کرد، هنوز می شود به کارآفرینی برای ایران امیدوار بود. So basically, if the P5+1 talks continue in the way they have been, and they continue to be at this standstill, is there still a chance to have hope for the future for Iran?
I'm always the most hopeful person in the planet. If we didn't have hope, we couldn't have started this whole conference. At the beginning, there were all these issues that, are we going to be able to hold a conference so early on? And what are the political implications of these things? When you are iGANDHI, you think like iGANDHI. You look at opportunities, not the obstacles. And just reach out to your heart and decide what has got to be done to create peace in the world and change the world for the better. And if as part of that you get persecuted, you get to have difficulties, you get opposition, understand that's what comes with being an iGANDHI. When we all work together, masses, for change, for the betterment of humanity, they might stop us, governments, whatever, here or there. And of course, we have to respect the laws. However, when your heart says that you have to help other people, if you can't invest in them, at least provide mentorship. Help them with some practical things to lift them up. And those of you who live in America, talk to the State Department, talk to your congressman, and let them know who you are and what you stand for. Be proud that you were born in Iran, and stand up and say, this is what makes sense for the future of humanity. We need to change the world, do things that are driven by 21st century, by the future, not the things of the past. Forgive and forget and move forward.
Kamran, that was beautiful, and also an amazing segue into our next question.
I kind of read what you are going to come and...
Exactly. So that question
or
actually
I
brings
cheat
it
from
back,
there. Actually,
exactly,
I read
brings
it over
back
there.
home here to the U.S. So is it finally time for Iranian Americans to accept Iran as it is now and to work to improve conditions in all aspects back home rather than being mirrored by indifferences?
Absolutely. We can have philosophical differences. We can have ideological differences. But if you do what is best for humanity, people will recognize that. I remember in the late 90s, early 2000, I used to be involved on trying to use high technology and work with high-tech entrepreneurs in Israel and Palestine to create bridges, to create a life above all the nonsense, violence, killing, discrimination, all those things that were going on. And many times people were asking me, are you Israeli? No. Are you Arab? No. Are you Muslim? No. Are you Jewish? No. I'm none of those. What I am, I'm a human being. And that's above everything else. And you do what makes sense for humanity. And it's not just Iran, it's a message that makes sense. The last 2 weeks, I was with high-tech entrepreneurs in Mexico. I was with high-tech entrepreneurs in Azerbaijan. I was with high-tech entrepreneurs in Kazakhstan. We talk the same language. We all share the values of cooperation, participative management, meritocracy, transparency. Those are the things we love and we share. And it's very easy language to talk with everyone else. So absolutely, it's something that can be done in every country.
So that's another good segue now to what's happening on the ground in the country outside of technology. So this one is a bit more of a cynical question, I must say. It's saying, is entrepreneurship really the solution to Iran's economic and social problems? Should we invest in education and core infrastructure and a proper legal system first? So the challenges on the ground, is it those or is it the technology?
It's all of them. You need, without education, you don't have anything. When we started schools online, in 1996, our first goal was to go and start the internet revolution all over the world. Schools online set up in 6,400 schools in 36 countries. We set up computer labs. We worked with the teacher to teach them about information technology. And we helped create a whole culture different from minor, crazy, stupid local politics of borders, religions, all these minor things that people who are living in the past are worried about. If you ever go and look up at planet Earth, you cannot find where the borders are. Where is America? Where is Mexico? Where is Canada? Where is Iran? Where is Iraq, Turkey, Afghanistan? There are no lines drawn there. Planet is all one. I don't understand why the hell we are wasting so much time arguing about this island is mine, that island is yours, where China and Korea and Taiwan are arguing about some of those, or around Persian Gulf, there are those arguments. Who cares? It belongs to humanity. It belongs to all of us. When I visited in 1992, over 30 different countries, every country I visited, they told me we are the best race. Every one of them. Japanese believe Japan is land of gods. Chinese believe they are the only civilized people in the planet. Italians believe that if it wasn't for Romans to bring all the culture, nothing would exist. The Greeks say, no, Romans are wrong. We brought the whole culture. We invented everything. And should I tell you what the French tell you? Now, good thing is in Iran, we never heard anything about our race is better. We never say those kinds of things. And when I get started, when I talk to Christians, they are the only ones who are going to go to heaven. When I talk to Muslims, they are the only ones who are going to go to heaven. When I talk to the Jews, when I talk to any branches of this, how could there be a God that creates all of us and only selects a few of us to send it to heaven, and the rest of them are condemned? This is pretty screwed up God that does not know if we all were supposed to go to heaven under one religion, we should all have been born in that religion, in that country. The fact that we are not, maybe some of these things were created by small-minded people.
I think that's our time for now, Kamran Jan. Thank you so much for your contributions to the conference, and also I'm sure there will be many more questions. Thank you to everyone here and online who's submitting them. Thank you.
Thank you all for participating. Much love.